Hello, everyone. This is Attorney Anthony Benitez with the Marc Lopez Law Firm, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Tabitha Villarrubia regarding how COVID-19 has affected immigration here in Indiana and in the country. So, Tabitha, could you please introduce yourself for everybody out there?
My name is Tabitha Villarrubia, and I'm a partner at Villarrubia and Rosenberger. Our phone number is 463-207-9900, and our new temporary address is at 333 East Ohio Street, Suite 200. We take all areas of immigration law.
Thank you very much, Tabitha. And so the question in a lot of people's mind um, is are immigration courts open or are they closed just like most of our businesses are?
Yeah, so immigration courts right now are closed for the non-detained immigrants. So if you are, or if you have a family that's detained and they have a hearing, that hearing will still take place. But if you are not detained, then you will get a continuance on that and you will receive a new date later on.
Do you know how far out they're pushing those dates out, Tabitha?
I haven't received any of mine. I've had several, but I know for a little while the actual court was actually closed and we had to file documents with the detained court for a little while. I think they're reopened, so I'm hoping that we start seeing those coming through.
Okay. So it seems like they're doing pretty much the exact same thing that they're doing in the criminal cases.
Yeah.
The criminal cases, as of right now, they're pushing them to May or June, and they're essentially only hearing essential hearings, which essentially is people that are either in custody or that need their license and things of that nature. So to benefit people out there. So that's great to hear. I also want to ask you. So you said so. I see a lot of people that are in custody and they get ICE holds.
Right.
So are you able to get hired and try to get a bond out so those people can be out with their family members?
Yes, so we know that ICE is still open. So that means if they get arrested for driving without a license or a DUI, and then there's an ICE hold, and if ICE picks them up, then we can either negotiate straight with ICE and to try to get them a bond, or we can file with the immigration court and we should have a hearing because it is for a detained case.
And are those hearings going to be electronically or telephonically or in person?
Well, that's a great question. So bond hearings are typically allowed to be telephonically, so there shouldn't be too much change with that. So if we're talking about bond hearings, then yes, you do have to request it, but you should be able to have a telephonic bond hearing. Now, if it's another type of hearing for a detained client, you might have to go in person.
Okay. I actually had a hearing this week where I had to go in person. I had my wife made me a purple mask, and then I had some Plead glasses on. So it was a very unique experience.
Right.
Luckily, the judge ruled in our favor, and our client was not taken into custody. So I can't complain with that.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of people right now, Tabitha, are wondering either they heard that the current administration is putting a ban on immigration and that's legal immigration. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Is that true? Is that false?
Right. So the president did sign an executive order yesterday that says that you are not able to immigrate to the U.S. For the next 60 days. And what that means is, for example, if you have a family member that maybe has applied for a green card, then for the next 60 days, they wouldn't be able to come in. Regardless, I'm not sure how that really will affect our current situation because all the interviews that have been happening were canceled because of the coronavirus, because most of the consulates or embassies are closed. So I'm not sure how the executive order is really going to help any with immigration because there are no interviews right now. But it is only for people that are outside of the U.S. It is not for people that are already here in the U.S.
Okay. So people here in the United States that have a family member that they would like to get a green card for, they can still apply, right? They can still call your office or no?
Yep. Yeah. So everything is still pretty much operating normal with immigration. The things that are different are in-person interviews, right? So we can't go in person for an interview, but there are so many areas of immigration that do not require an interview. And some of those areas like DACAs and work permits are actually, we're seeing a faster response during the coronavirus. So that's good for them. But for people that need interviews, they'll just be scheduled later on.
Okay. So my mother became a U.S. citizen a couple years ago, and she had an interview. So if somebody wants to become a U.S. citizen, they can still call your office, and maybe the interview take longer, but then you can still file the paperwork, correct?
Yeah, so we can still file, and they'll process them, and if they have your fingerprints on file, they'll reuse those instead of calling you to the office to get fingerprinted. So it will be processed. I just won't set an interview until the office is open back up.
Okay. And just like our office, the Marc Lopez law firm, we remain open. We have people working, even though we usually, I think Marc's the only one in the office. All of us are working remotely. Your office is open, right? And accepting calls, emails, and everything, right?
Yeah, so I have not been working from home. I've been mainly working out of the office just because I can get more done. We are not taking in-person appointments, but we're still taking appointments over the phone and via video, but we're still trying to operate as normal as possible.
And so if somebody, let's say, is not a U.S. citizen and they're accused of a crime, what do you recommend they do?
So you need 2 attorneys. You need an immigration attorney because there can be consequences to whatever crime you're accused of. And of course, you're going to need a criminal attorney to help you through that process. And in a situation like that, I always recommend that that both attorneys work together to get the best outcome they can for the client.
Perfect. And obviously, I do criminal law, and every time I see a client that is not a U.S. citizen, I always tell them to call you guys because, Tabitha, you guys know what you're doing, and you guys are in that area and practice that solely, essentially. And so we don't want to get a situation where somebody, loses a benefit.
Right.
That's simple. So, Tabitha, any closing remarks that you have? I know you're taking a lot of time to speak with us, and your time is very important. Anything else that you want to tell us?
Yeah, just remember that we're open. If you need any immigration help at this time, everything still remains pretty open. There's just limited offices that are closed. And just be careful. Don't drive without a license.
Okay. And how can the viewers out there, how can they reach you? Can you tell them how to reach you, please?
Yeah, so you can call our phone number 463-207-9900, or you can email me at tabitha@vrlegal.com.
Well, thank you very much, and you have a great day. Take care.
Thank you for having me.